step one of installing the mini bulkhead. We will be removing the front bumper. If you already have a bumper made, that's fine. It will not affect the mounts down low if you are mounted like this. If not, you're gonna have to drill 2 new holes to line up into the plate. But if you have a winch back there, you need to move it to the front of the bumper because our winches do not currently work with the mini bulkhead. But pull the bumper off, pull the fascia off, and pull the radiators loose. And I just like to ratchet strap them upward to get them out of the way. I'll get some of this torn down and show you some more videos along the way. Okay, once you get the bumper and the front fascia off, you will pull this piece off. Just go and undo your clips. This one apparently had no clips on it. It's got one. So you pull your clips, pull that off, discard it for now. Go in here, get down there, pull, if it'll focus, pull those bolts out. We need to pull this mount off. You can go ahead and undo those too. Pull this bracket out of the way. You can undo the wires or you can just tuck it off to the side. We just need to get the radiators pushed up as high as we can and get all that out of the way. And then we're going to go in here and do some cutting after we take the winch off of it. Because it does currently have a winch tucked in there, which is really hard to work on and really hard to get to. So I would never recommend putting a winch in there anyways. But there we go. Okay, so we got a ratchet strap just loop back to the back of the fan. Make sure you're not stabbing in the fins. And then just loop up somewhere high with your strap. Pull this up. Try not to force anything too hard. Make sure your hoses aren't stabbing anything sharp or your fins. And just snug up your ratchet strap. Make sure it's held up. And you can do this without removing the radiators. Next, we're going to go in here and we're going to remove the radiator bracket. Okay, now that we got that, we can take it out. We do not want to throw this piece away because we will be reusing this. It'll actually go and bolt straight to the top of here, and then your new radiator mount will be right there. So we're gonna go in here and start unbolting this stuff and undoing the A-arms, get them out of the way. We basically just need to pull this bolt out and this bolt out, and then we can choose to pull out the outers and leave the A-arms on, or we can pull off one of the A-arms. We just need to get the axle out of the way so that we can pull the diff out. But we're going to go in here and we're going to cut it flush with the front of this all the way across, straight cut. And we're going to come up here and we're going to put our cutoff wheel or a sawzall, and we're going to cut straight across here. Straight cut, same as the angle as that. And we're going to get that out of there and unbolt all that, and then just take all that out in one piece, take the diff out with it. We're basically going to cut this flush with this all the way across here from one side to the other, and then take this and just somewhere up in here at the bottom edge of this tube basically cut across. Then we're taking our cutoff wheel, we're lining it up perfectly with that cross member and cutting into the tube as far as we can. Come back, finish it out with our sawzall, then we're going to take the whole piece out. The front plate is removed, so I just cut it across the flush side of this tube going down. Made it where I have enough tab left because we will be reusing these tabs. This is nice and flush with the cross member there because that lines right up to the top of the mini bulkhead. And we got the axles out, so now we're going to go ahead and remove the winch and remove the diff and start fitting everything up. Yeah, I probably should stop taking this thing apart because I keep finding more and more. The rack plate's busted, so we will be replacing that to a 3/16 bracket. First things first, you're going to break these two tabs off that look like this, and these are going to go in here. Just weld those in. That keeps this from collapsing on both sides. Go ahead and prep all this so that whenever you go put this in, you can weld it out. But we're gonna go ahead and get these welded in there and move on. So on this step, we're fitting up the mini bulkhead, getting it where it's all nice and tight. You may have to keep grinding this lip down in here on the bulkhead and the actual chassis. We're looking at this lining up pretty tight right here and here, and we want it to be even on both sides. You might have to grind a little nick out of this plate to clear that little bump out, but you want this to be fairly flush on the bottom. You want it to meet up with those pretty close. If you're running the upgraded 3/16 steering plate, just keep in mind you'll want this to sit behind this plate. On this side, we're putting the two edges together, so there's an actual gap back there. The edge of this plate, in other words, is basically on top of this plate. The edge of this plate is basically right behind this plate to allow for that 3/16 bump. We're gonna go ahead, put a few more tacks back here, take some measurements, make sure that we're straight with the bulkhead, put the diff back in and see how it fits. Just temporarily, we're gonna pull it back out, but we wanna make sure the hole will line back up with the drive line, and there we go. As you can see, our diff slid in there. We got the bolts in there. They're not in any bind or anything. You can move them around. There's a good gap below there. The hole is lining up through the pinion there. So it's all measuring out good. We're gonna go ahead and pull the diff back out, and we're gonna weld it in and then move on to the upper A-arms. Mini bulkhead all welded in. Just careful you don't weld onto the nuts. Don't put a welder right there, just so that you have clearance for your diff bolts and nuts. We got, I don't know if I showed it in the steps, but we got our filler pieces welded in there. Now we're gonna go in here and we're gonna weld these back in here, lined up with the other piece. And that's just gonna support everything else a little bit more. On this step, we got the mini bulkhead's cover back on. I put the bolts in backwards so that when I'm welding this, the splatter doesn't get on the threads. Whenever you go install it for good, the bolts will go in like that. So I messed up. I didn't put that bolt in backwards, so I'm gonna have to cut that bolt back out and put another bolt in forward. But your bolts are all gonna face forward like that. Whenever you go and take this cover off, you'll undo these nuts and undo those bolts, and it'll just pull right off. There's two more bolts that need to go there, but you go and you just put your bolt back in the upper A-arm. You don't need to have the nut on just yet. Then you go and tighten these up and all of your cover bolts, and you go in here and you can either weld it and pull off the A-arm in a hurry so you're not burning the bushing, or if you have a junk set of A-arms that you don't care about, then go with that. But I usually go and tack it pretty good and pull the A-arms back off and then weld it out once it's off. At this point, it's all welded up. We got the cover back off. We're gonna go ahead and clean up a little bit of slag and throw some paint on it. I gotta go ahead and pull the drive line out, but I gotta replace some things on that. But then we'll be back and we'll be putting the diff back in and bolting it all up, putting the radiators back down and putting the front fascia on, and doing a little bit of modifying to the bumper so that the winch goes out front.